the scripted reality election show, the escalation, and how to look at it. You can either participate in the escalation and be fully invested in that, or you can participate in the elevation and be fully invested in that. But in order to distinguish, in order to lose your fear, maybe your worries, because I know a lot of people are fearful and worried. They're looking at all of this. It's getting crazy, from headlines that say Haitians in Springfield, Ohio are eating the cats and the dogs, to bombs, close to Trump campaign events, to, Tim Walz's, that's Kamala's vice presidential candidate, story about horse sperm. I mean, you want to explain bizarre? I mean, 2024 beats it all. But we have to understand that this is ultimately a game. It is also a game reality in the way that so much has been said about 3D, so much has been said about 4D. And in my perception, through my studies and through the in-depth research of others, we can conclude that the 3D, the 4D realities are ultimately not inherently original realities. These are virtual or simulated, constructed realities. So if you are part of the program, and you don't have access to and are not directing your life through higher consciousness, then this madness is simply the natural evolution of the world that you live in. But for you, and for many of us, you look at it with that divine spark that you hold intact, and you just go, what in the world is going on here? This is so incredibly crazy. Now, I will say this, the gap is getting bigger. Right? This is what we've been talking so much about. That's why Divine Spark, you and many others all over the place can recognize themselves easier, because they absolutely do not fit into this mad world any longer. So the madness serves a purpose. However, believe it or not, many people get involved. Many people get sucked into the narratives. Many people get incredibly triggered because, and this is legitimate, because they see that this does have real effects. The UK just had an election that, that brought in apparent new leadership, and it just all hell's breaking loose. People are really suffering, and it is bringing, which is the most detrimental thing, it is bringing consciousness down. Now, I played, and we made this compilation in the intro, so we can see some of the very apparent falsehoods and lies, right? We have, for example, in this intro, one of the candidates prominently saying that he's going to never allow, as president, CBDCs. Yet we have just a few days ago, on Monday, the announcement of World Liberty Financial, which is ultimately a Trump company, that is going to be highly involved in the crypto world and provide financial services through largely stable coins. Now, if you look at the technology and the trackability of stable coins, they're not really much different from the proposed CBDCs. So we see that, and this is maybe the bigger picture, is that no matter who you root for or who you feel more aligned with, because we're human, we're going to feel more aligned with some than others. Ultimately, this entire system is marching in the same direction, right? It's marching in the complete technocracy and the elimination of human spirit direction. That's what it aims to do. That's what this entire technocratic system aims to do. I would say that a lot of people are not fully aware of that. But I've said this before. I really don't care if you put an American flag on the AI, or if you have a world flag. It doesn't matter. It does the same thing. It is in principle the same thing. So decoding the game means for us to realize what is authentic, what is real, and what is part of this artificial world. So that's why something like the challenge that I talked about yesterday is so important, not to challenge yourself to do a breathwork exercise every morning. That's just part of it. What it really does is it elevates your own level of consciousness. So the higher you go, the closer you are to truth. So then you can see so much clearer, and you actually feel empowered through that. When you look at what elections really are versus what they're being sold to us, and we had the creator of the Jones Plantation on not too long ago for an interview. Larkin Rose, and it was actually a great movie. I encourage everyone to watch it, The Jones Plantation. So, because it depicts in clarity how the system actually operates. Right now, we're in an election campaign season. This has its own rules. And once you understand the rules, it's much easier for you to step back. So here's what elections really are. Election campaigns are a psychological manipulation of the masses designed to create the illusion of choice while masking the real power structures at play. Election campaigns manipulate emotions using fear, division, and false hope to keep people engaged in a system that ultimately doesn't serve them. Campaigns use mass media, social media, and carefully crafted narratives to steer public opinion, keeping people trapped in a left versus right paradigm. Due to the psychological nature of election campaigns, the population needs to be constantly bombarded and triggered with ever-increasing intensity so that it stays in an emotionally imbalanced and reactionary state. The candidates are then presented as the solution. The message is that the only way to release the enormous pressure, which was created via relentless campaigning, is to vote. So this is what these campaigns do. The problem is, and this is why it's getting crazier and crazier, you cannot turn down the dial. So the election is still more than 1.5 months away. So you cannot dial down the intensity of the rhetoric, of the events, of the headlines. You have to constantly turn it up, because what would happen if they calmed everything down? People wouldn't pay attention, right? Because there's so much distraction in the world. So these campaigns have to push through the noise of social media. They have to take over social media. They have to take over your feeds because they have to take over your minds. More importantly, they have to take over your emotions just long enough so that you will participate in the mass ritual. That is all that it's aimed to do. Truth is about, it's probably priority number 173 on a campaign list is truth. If you can tell the truth and create all of these effects that we're talking about here, sure, but it doesn't matter. Nothing is more prevalent than promises made, promises not kept. Why? Because it doesn't matter. All that matters is that you are engaged. The problem is we're not talking about a few months. We're not talking about one election season. Before the election is after the election, and after the election is before the election, which means this is a perpetual state now. It's all about fighting. It's all about right versus left, when in reality, the system is marching in the same direction. So what is, and always has been, the solution is to realize that it is a game of a inherently false reality. But there is a real reality. There is a real truth. There is a prime earth. There are real human beings. All of this does exist. It is currently overshadowed by this fake, false game reality. And how do we experience the real thing? How do we become the real thing? By first facing this, accepting this, and knowing that this is true. Because then we are not in the fight of constantly trying to better this reality here. It's a virtual reality game. It's not going to get better. This is what it is. But we can get better. We can elevate our consciousness. We can purify and correct our thinking. We can actually step into our true power, which makes all this ultimately obsolete. This is what is trying to be stopped, right? This is what the game is trying to stop. It's trying to stop you from doing it. So when you show up for yourself, like we encourage you to do with this very simple morning practice, like a 15, 20-minute practice every morning, it can change a lot. When you show up every single day and you do it over and over and over again, you rise higher and higher and higher on that scale. And then when you observe this fake reality, this crap, you're detached. You're not emotionally involved any longer. You go, just another chapter of the reality show. Now, when millions and millions of us do this, which we are, ultimately, this will cease to exist, because it is fed by our attention, fed by our emotions, and fed by our participation. So, I'm not telling you what to do. What I am telling you is what my own journey and the journey of many others have showed them. At some point, I was involved in this paradigm game. Not for very long, but I was involved in the thinking of it, and I was involved in the fight of it. Not for very long, but I was. And I realized when I stepped out of it, hold on, how come that when you look just a little deeper, the same forces behind the scenes are financing all the parties, all the candidates, pulling all the strings, and ultimately, this is the most important thing, the general direction never changes. You get a little more of this for 4 years, then you get a little more of that for 4 years. But it's kind of like Pepsi or Coke. Yeah, they taste a little different, but they're the same shit. So, the thing is, I'm not in a defeatist camp. But we have been sold a lie, and it had to be literally hammered into our heads that the only way to change or shift something is to go to the ballot boxes, to the polling station, and to surrender our voice, to give our voice to somebody else who knows better, who's an expert, who has more experience, who can deal with these complicated matters better. Bless you, my love. So, this has been sold as the only solution, and God knows how many discussions I had where I said, listen, have you ever thought about this, that, or that, or that, or that? And then they said, well, elections are coming up, just vote for the other guy. So you're telling me that in the vastness, in the infinite field of all possibilities, the choice is freaking binary between a Democrat or a Republican. And if in your nation, many European nations have 10 or 15 parties on paper, ultimately most of them are controlled by the same forces. They don't care. They don't care if they finance 2 parties with a lot of money or give a little money to 10 parties. They don't care. It's the same thing. For me, the more that I detach from this and look at it from the outside in, the more I actually see how much is already happening outside of this system here. How many people already have stepped out and have taken full responsibility. In a few weeks ago, I was accused by someone. There was a lady who made a comment, and actually I viewed it as a compliment. But she said, you've been saying the same things for years. I'm out of here. I'm unsubscribing. That was the gist of it. And I just thought, thank you. That's a great compliment. Because when you can feel so clearly a truth and you put it to the test and it stands up to the test and you scrutinize it and it still stands up, then it is a truth. So the things that I want to share, that I share with you, of course I repeat them. Because in the big scheme of things, there's not much new under the sun. But the noise has gotten so loud. There are so many voices who try to distract people, push them into their box, push them into their labels, into their party, into their belief system. And what I'm saying is, don't get sucked in, even though it's getting louder. Don't get sucked in. Work on elevating your own consciousness. Work on becoming the best possible version of yourself. Create the best life. Your life will be elevated out of this madness, literally. And your own experience will be literally elevated out of this craziness. The more of us that do it, the stronger this movement and this entire ascension, I don't like the word at all, but ultimately, because it's not a physical thing, we're shifting dimensions, right? We're literally shifting dimensions. And the entire aim is, and this is what I've been saying, you, me, many others are working on a dream, literally. And that dream is a memory. It's a memory of incredible potential. We remember on a certain level that there was a life that was lighter, that was incredibly beautiful, sounds, colors, experiences. Our ability to create was much stronger, faster, and we felt like we had infinite potential in what we could do and discover and explore. The crazy thing about this memory that so many people are having is that none of us, has experienced it in this lifetime. Most people, and this is the truth, most people in this simulated reality struggle. You know, life isn't inherently good, but people can make it good. Consciousness can change this. Higher consciousness changes it for the better. But we have this memory. Where does it come from? It comes from an experience that we've had in what you might call prime reality, the real thing, prime Earth. It is still here. It is still accessible, but we are being distracted on energetic levels, on frequency levels, on physical levels. We're being literally kept from experiencing it. This is what this reality does. It keeps us from it if we allow it. So this is why basking in this memory, and this is why not asking yourself whether you're crazy or not, but actually knowing you're remembering something real. And this isn't real. This is like a dream, and the other thing is a real thing, and you're remembering it. You're remembering incredibly powerful things. So am I. And we need to connect with that memory more and more and more often. This is a pivotal time. And that's why the rhetoric, and that's why the events, that's why I said it will only get crazier. Pagers exploding and, talk of World War III everywhere. Seemingly nations not willing to talk about peace, and leaders only talking about more weapons, more war, more everything. What does it do to the human spirit if we allow it to? It demoralizes us. It makes us lose faith and hope. I say we need to do the exact opposite. As they escalate and go downward on this spiral, we need to move upward. When they go low, literally, we need to go higher. We do need to go higher. And then bring that to our daily lives. Don't go out into the world when you're mad and scream. If you're mad, you're mad. That's fine. It's human. Experience it. But don't go and put that into the field. Wait till it's over. Air it out. And do what you can to rise up to where you actually are. Human consciousness is incredible. Our creative power is incredible. Excuse me. Can you still hear me? Sorry, folks. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty, but we should be back here. Human creativity, human consciousness, human power is incredible. Think about the people over the last, let's just say over the last few decades, that have been able to create a body of work and to relentlessly pursue the truth, that have reached millions and millions and millions of people despite all the madness, and have helped those millions of people shift. One of them, one of the great ones in our time, is David Icke. We just interviewed him, and that interview is getting ready. It's going to be available in a few days on our website, by the way. Just wanted to announce that. We've gone through it. We didn't want to bleep things out and do whatnot. It's not really respectful to David. So the entire interview is going to be available on our website, of course, free to watch, theinspiredchannel.com on Saturday. We're going to put out segments here on YouTube, and we're going to let you and share the links and everything. But that was the way. That was the way to go. For our incredible local supporters, by the way, the interview is going to be, there's going to be a pre-access to the interview on Locals starting tomorrow. So, but I wanted to talk quickly about people like David Icke and how they have, despite everything, created a body of work that people can study, that people can use, and people can help themselves with. The human spirit is absolutely unstoppable. There's no doubt about it. And there is no doubt that in this epic battle of divine consciousness versus inverted dark consciousness that has lost all its connection to source, that divine consciousness will win and is winning. There's no doubt in my mind. The question is, how much longer until this manifests on a larger level, and how much suffering will we, you and I, and all, our group of divine sparks, if you will, have to go through and want to go through. So this is the last and a very important message for today that I wanted to share. And I've said this before. In light of more violence, in light of more madness and insanity, and there's going to be much more to come because it's playing out. You know, the if you will, the detonators have been set and they're detonating now. And that's just the way it is. When we observe it, we have two choices. We can either get fully emotionally involved and it sucks us down. It's a downward spiral. There's nothing good that comes from it if we get fully emotionally involved. Or we can accept that this is part of the story that we're living in and also part of distraction. I know this sounds cynical, but a lot of times suffering in this world is created to the program, by the program. That's how crazy this is. The program creates the suffering to the program so that divine spark, divine expression of consciousness, that's who we are, gets the opportunity to observe the suffering and get emotionally sucked into the suffering. What does that do? Robs us of our true power. Now, I'm not saying lose your empathy. I'm not saying when you're being asked for help and you can give it, don't give it. What I'm saying is check in with yourself. Keep your balance. This is the last stand. This is all that they have left, and there's not much left. But they have a few more moves left, and that's it. We will get through this. But I don't want you and I and all of us to just survive through this. I don't want us to be depleted. I don't want us to be at our wits' end. I really want us to thrive through this. So when we get through this, we're at our very best. We're at the most creative. We're at our most loving. And that's something we can work on every day. For me, when somebody said to me, before you do anything else in the world, become the best possible version of yourself, that was a mandate. To me, that was a mandate. That was a divine mandate. And I'm working on that every day. This never stops, by the way. But that is my mantra, to become the best possible version of myself. And how? Do what you can with what you have where you are. Don't outsmart yourself. Use what you have where you are and do what you can. That's it. That's the entire recipe, my friends. Alrighty. This was it for today. I want to close this by playing you, which I haven't done in a long time, playing you the entirety of my newest song, Time to Be Free. And just invite you to, sort of tune into the love from which it was written, and tune into the consciousness from which it was written. It was literally written through me, by the way. And I just invite you to enjoy it. I love you all, appreciate you all so much, and we will be back with you again very, very soon.